season during an election year. Elections are...
Israel must be so bad at genocide. Holy shit. Dude, Netanyahu needs to step up, okay? This guy sucks. Getting a new leader that is more efficient. What the fuck? What do you mean?
supposed to be a pressure valve for people not to revolt because they feel like they have a say in this process. And the Democratic Party's refusal to hear the cries of its own base of support showed so many Americans that this is not a real democratic process at all, which is the truth. But people probably care more about inflation and social issues more than foreign policy. That's not true. That is not true. This was a major, major problem. Okay, that's not how campaigns are run. This is not how elections are run. Of course, people cared about inflation.
Yeah, you're right. You should ask your uncle how presidential campaigns are run, okay? I'm sure he has a few tidbits.
Kamala Harris had no good solutions to that either, with the exception of grocery prices, limiting grocery prices. That was a banger campaign policy that she presented that she packed up very quickly, even though it was her most popular policy. I covered it extensively.
And implement a first ever federal ban on price gouging on food and groceries.
I can only get so hard. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is great stuff, chat. I'm not joking when I say this. Like, the very fact that she was presented as an alternative in this unceremonious, truly unique, unprecedented way should have been the major reason as to why she has to quickly cut ties with the administration she was a part of and utilize the limited amount of influence and power she has as the vice president.
Yeah, I think Contrapoints is perfectly correct on this one. He just wants an endless ability to criticize. Like, this is the definition.
President at the time to make some changes, to give assurances to the American public that she will be different. It is crazy. The idea that foreign policy is in America, especially, is separate from domestic policy is stupid, because every single dollar spent on a bomb, spent on a rocket, spent on rockets that Israel deploys on the Palestinian population is a dollar that could go back to you. It could go back to your roads. It's a dollar that could be spent educating your kids. It's a dollar that could be spent building schools, factories, fixing the roads, building better infrastructure. So make no mistake, it is a lie that people say when they say, oh, foreign policy is a separate thing. No, of course it's not a separate thing. They want you to think it's a separate thing. They want you to think that these things are not directly connected to one another. That is by design. Trump is also incidentally a menace to me and everyone I care about. None of this is the fault of Palestinians, of course, who are overwhelmingly the victims here. Oh, thanks. Thanks, Natalie, for saying the Palestinians are overwhelmingly the victims here. I hope that someday American policy will shift in their favor, and I will continue to support that cause. TLDR.
Isn't that what you want, though? Is her saying, like, yeah, Palestinians are overwhelmingly the victims here? Fuck, I don't even know if that's true. Like, what the fuck? Well, actually, fuck it. No, I do think it's true, but it's Hamas causes it. Okay, I really don't think it's the IDF. I'm starting to believe it's really not the IDF. Dude, oh my God.
I see the situation as bleak, intractable, extremely divisive, and devoid of any element that could be appropriately transformed into political entertainment. That's why I haven't made a video about it. Hopefully, it goes without saying that these are just my thoughts. I'm sure other bread tubers, in air quotes, have different opinions. So that was their take, and of course, when this unfolded on the timeline, everyone lost their minds, partially because Contra Points is a trans woman. So obviously, anything that a trans person says gets amplified a million times over by transphobes.
Or maybe it's not because she's trans. What? What are you talking about? Or maybe it's just because she's a popular YouTuber. What the... What do you mean? You're treating her as if she's like Humega lol. What the fuck? She's like the queen of BreadTube back then, before she disconnected a bit from them, right? Like what are you on about? What? You know, obviously she's a trans woman. Okay, I'm glad that that's the first thing that came to your mind.
And you know, everyone else.
And not that she's a voice.
Of course. So there is that. But what I don't understand about the entertainment part of this is that, are you doing entertainment when you talk about trans issues? Is this not an existential issue for you? When you make a video trying to convert people, trying to change people's minds about trans existence, is that simply entertainment? I don't think it's entertainment. There is an entertainment component to what I do. I see that. I understand that. But it serves the larger interest that I have in getting people to change their minds. And of course, predictably, Ethan.
And whose mind did you change? Can we see some data on that? Because I actually legitimately don't believe he changed jack shit. Apparently people only pay attention to trans people because they're trans. I'm sure he's not saying that. He's like saying, oh, it's because trans people's voices are amplified or some shit. It's like, what? Just like, no, it's because it's fucking Contrapoints. Like, if H Bomber Guy makes a statement on something like this, do you think people are not gonna listen to him as much because he's not trans? Like,
Klein looked at this and went, wow, I couldn't have said this any better myself. This is exactly the war I've been waging. You know, I also think it's a genocide, but everyone should shut the fuck up about it. Yeah, Contrapoints' whole take here is, believe me, in my heart, I oppose this genocide, but actively campaigning against it is unproductive, anti-Semitic, and bad tactics. And also makes me feel bad. And also led to Kamala Harris losing the election. The Biden administration set the ground, set the stage for the Trump administration to capitalize on prosecuting unfairly people who are speaking out against this genocide. 3,500 student protesters were arrested under the Biden administration. I got to start just lying to people and being like, 3,500. Did you guys know Donald Trump arrested 3,500 college students for speaking out against Israel? How fucked up is that? So then the liberals go, oh my God, I'm so mad about that.
I think Hassan does feel like a dumb person. Like, I truly do think so. I think Hassan wishes that he was as smart as Contrapoints or Destiny. Okay? Like, I bet that whenever he, like, sees people talking about Contrapoints video and how enlightening it was, he feels, like, a little bit more insecure about himself. And whenever he sees, like, Destiny debate, like, a big namer, he always feels a little bit jealous. It should have been me. It should have been me who defeats Ben Shapiro.
Only to then turn around and be like, no, actually, that was Joe Biden that did that.
I do think
of course things are worse under Trump.
Intellect.
No one thinks that Trump is not going to be worse than Biden. He is worse than Biden. Everyone knew this. I knew this. I didn't want Donald Trump to win for this reason. That's why I kept criticizing Kamala Harris, because I thought maybe something would stick. Maybe these guys, enough of the staffers that are in here, would be able to, like, elevate the issue. It didn't work. Anyway, there's also so much that is just wrong. Yeah, I mean, this is something that people are recognizing at least now. So it seems like a
God, I just want all the power without any of the work. All I want to do is endlessly critique while I'm in front of the camera. I wish every single, like, AOC staffer would help elevate this issue because of how important it is to me. Hassan, my friend, okay? Whatever you say is not that important, okay? To winning campaigns, all right? That's the harsh truth. Your voice is minuscule, okay? Your voice is tiny. No one likes you. You're annoying. You're like a little gnat, okay? Little kulak.
New rhetorical strategy is dropped. Concede that Israel is doing a genocide/war crimes, but then proceed to spend 100 more times and 100 times more space complaining that people opposing it are basically worse because they hurt Jewish feelings/make Democrats look bad. Did you read what she said, or just read a little and get into your feelings?
True.
If you read what she said and agree with her, you're objectively wrong. And I mean, I can only tell you what the
Salty
truth
much?
is, but you will
Mad?
probably never agree with me.
He's so mad.
Because
He's so mad.
part of the
He's
problem
so mad, dude.
that you
can
are
tell. He's so
exhibiting here
mad.
is fundamentally unsolvable. You have to solve it on your own. And that is that it is not the left that is showing these images of Palestinians being
What
slaughtered.
is
It is
this guy?
Palestinians that are showing these images. It's also not just the online left that has made this their cause. A lot of Americans from every
When canvassing, I think all of 2 people mentioned Palestine. Yeah, I know. This is why Hassan literally lives in a bubble. He got everybody in the world who cares about Palestine, and he thinks that's representative of the population per capita, right? It's almost as if he doesn't understand fundamental statistics.
different walk of life recognize the cruelty here. And if you actually ever stepped outside of your own bubble and went to one of these fucking protests, you would realize that. If you
Yeah, a lot
ever
of
actually
Nazis is also
participated in
pro-Palestine,
something, if you
yes.
ever actually stood for something, you would realize that. How is this any different than when a racist person says, "Ugh, you calling me out for my racism is the real problem here"? not the very fact that I'm doing something racist. It's the same shit. You showing me what my tax dollars are doing to the Palestinians is hurting my feelings, and it's politically unsolvable. I've completely given up.
And they do nothing to gatekeep the Nazis. That's true. If anything, they openly... If I was a Nazi and I would go into Hassan's audience and say, like, yeah, it's the Zogs, it's the Zionists, it's all the Zionists and Zogs that are doing any of this. And you're absolutely right. Keep up the good work, Hassan. Spacebar, exclamation point, spacebar, right? Keep up the good work, Hassan, okay? These people need to be taught a lesson. Nobody ever talks about the Zog system at play when it comes to influencing politics and the mainstream culture. And you would probably see Hassan defend something like that, okay?
It's nihilistic, and you should give up too. That's what this is. Just let them die. Why do you make this a bother? But yeah, of course, podcaster Ethan Klein voices support for Contrapoints on his Instagram story. It is important to remind people that there is space to be anti-genocide, but also against annihilating Israel. Thank you, Contrapoints. It's important to remind people that there is space to be anti-genocide, pro-Palestine, but also against annihilating Israel. It is my belief that any lasting peace must have two elements, Palestinian self-determination and secure borders for Israel. Without both, peace fails. Many leftists would rather focus on purity tests and social credits than having a meaningful and realistic conversation about creating a lasting peace. The reaction to your post will prove my point, unfortunately. This is the other side of the story. Annihilating Israel. Dog, you're a Nazi, okay? When you say annihilating Israel, what you're talking about...
What? Did you call Ethan Klein a Nazi? Oh, nar. Oh, nar. You just called like a Jewish man a Nazi. That's crazy work.
Is the perspective that Israel should have democracy for everyone. Israel should not do an ethnic cleansing, and Israel should allow the Palestinians, who literally it occupies every facet of existence of, breathing room, meaningful existence. Treat them like human beings instead of a parasitic...
You know, you didn't even go through pot full of spiders. Okay. But, like, he didn't even go through, like, the post. Like, bro, you didn't even finish the post. You didn't even finish the fucking post. Can you please finish the post? Like, you didn't even finish it.
That must be excised. That is unacceptable. Why? Because you're a Zionist, and you have the exact same hysterical fear that is rooted within Islamophobia and ethno-religious supremacist attitudes. Palestinians and Jews can never get along. Palestinian Muslims, Palestinian Christians, and Jews can never live in the same place. That is exactly what people said in apartheid South Africa. Black people and white people can't live side by side. That's exactly what people said in segregationist South, in the Jim Crow South. That's what they said against the abolition of slavery. So anti-Semitism being a real bigotry does not change this dynamic. This is why people say you are a Zionist. Simply claiming that you're anti-genocide, but then spending every waking moment talking about how, well, sorry, you know, these Muslims and these Christian Palestinians, these Muslim Palestinians, and these Jews, they can't live together because that would annihilate all the Jews. That'd be a Holocaust. That's insane. That's exactly what segregationists in the Jim Crow South said. That's exactly what David Duke says about black people, about Jews. It's insane. Oh, we just want secure borders. Like how? You're using the same terminology that Trump uses when he's talking about Mexicans invading the country. How does that not read for anyone else? Because there are a lot of liberals out there who are just like completely rudderless and have no capacity to analyze the situation, have no way of understanding that like they are unironically defending the exact same types of bigotry that they despise when Trump does it to their friends and their neighbors. But when it comes down to Israel, when it comes down to like anti-Semitism, I think like that is brick their brain a little bit. So they don't see it in the same exact vein. Oh, it's different? Why is it different? Why can't Muslims, Christians of Palestinian background live alongside Jews in a singular, solitary, secular state? Why does this have to be an ethno-state? I need you guys to understand. This is why I think history is
But they do. There's an Arab population in Israel, and Palestinians live in Israel peacefully. What is he talking about? They do coexist. It's fine. It's not the biggest deal. They're fine.
It's very important to learn so we do not repeat the lessons. Every single historic fascist movement has always packaged its ideology with reason. The Nazis didn't say we have to kill the Jews because we're evil and these guys aren't actually doing anything, but we love killing them because we're evil and we just like want to kill Jews. They didn't say that. They created a logical reason. They created first the Jewish question, the dehumanization of Jews.
Right. Okay. Is Hassan finally starting to understand how this works?
The claims that Jews are a parasitic force that is both powerful and weak at the same time. The idea that Jews are taking down the German state by...
Yes, you're manufacturing consent for Jewish genocide. Yes. Yes, Hassan. You're getting it. All right, you're getting it, but you're just being... he can't lack this much self-awareness, can he? Like, I feel like there's only so much self-awareness he can lack. Because I feel like he's literally doing the same exact tactics. He's manufacturing consent for Jewish genocide. Yeah, he is.
Engaging in degeneracy in the halls of academia, controlling the money supply, all of this stuff. And then, after decades of dehumanization that also even predated Germany itself, of centuries of dehumanization and anti-Semitism, they were able to captivate enough people. They were able to basically take advantage of that pre-existing historic anti-Semitism. That is precisely what you're advancing when you talk about Palestinians in this way. You create a
baby
fake
settlers,
issue.
yeah.
You say Jews are ruining society.
Exactly.
Okay, the economic volatility that you're experiencing is because of the Jews. Then you keep just saying Jews are responsible for everything, all of the wrong, everything that you're experiencing. And then you have to solve this problem.
Just a reminder, okay? A lot of like genocidal rhetoric comes down to people are inherently evil, even if they're minors, okay? I understand the argument that Palestinian children could, in fact, be, Hamas, okay, when they grow up or whatever. However, I wouldn't use that as a justification for killing them whatsoever, okay? Like, that is insane to me. Obviously, Palestinian children should be protected, right? However, you will see people like Noah Samson and Hassan create arguments such as baby settlers and such as Noah Samson saying that even Zionist kids should be held accountable for genocide, right? When you say something like that, you are essentially arguing for killing kids. You're arguing for genociding Jewish people. If Jewish people vast majority of them are Zionist, you do advocate for that kind of shit. Like, you are saying, yeah, it's justifiable to start killing Jewish people because why? Well, because they'll just end up becoming Zionist. If you're arguing for kids that will have a possibility of becoming Zionist, you're also arguing for Jewish people as a possibility of becoming Zionist, then yeah, you're advocating for Jewish genocide. You're advocating for Holocaust too. Yeah.
Right? But the problem never existed. First, you create the Jewish question, then you have to have a...
Also, yeah, again, right? Again, this is perfectly applicable to Nazis as well, right? I mean, this is supposed to be his point, but he does exactly what Nazis do.
Solution for the Jewish question that you created, and that solution is the Holocaust. And that is precisely what Israel has done to the Palestinians. First, you create a question, Palestinians, the Palestinian question, and then you have to find a solution to the problem of Palestinian existence. In America, there's a different version of this, obviously, immigrants.
Like Hassan and his crew literally has the same version of how the Jews control the media, right? Manufactured Zionism, perpetrated genocide, Zionist control over the media, the ADL and IPAC, right? IPAC, a way for totally not Jews to control the government, right? Israeli friends, right? Totally not a way for the country on board to control the American government, right? Everything that he's saying is so applicable to wrapping back around to a neo-Nazi conspiracy theory about the Jewish question. So it's like it's literally the leftist version of the JQ, right?
White immigrants specifically.
Literally.
Create hysteria around it, keep hammering the point that they're violent criminals, keep
And again, I have to repeat what Ethan Klein has said before during a debate, right? I truly do think that what he is doing here is worse than what Candace Owens does, right? Because at least Candace Owens and Nick Fuentes are honest. They're honest with their audience. They say it out loud. They say it exactly what they think out loud to their audience, okay? They don't hide. They don't try to downplay what they're saying. They are very open about it. But Hassan is more dangerous, more insidious, because he does in fact hide what he says. He does in fact tries to, he also has a much larger audience than these two, right? Much larger audience. I don't know. I've thought about it a little bit, but I think someone like Hassan, who on purpose tries to appeal to the mainstream, is far more dangerous than someone who is on the fringe, like Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes.
Saying that they're animals, keep saying that they're ruining society.
Like,
as material conditions worsen, there are more and more people that are angry, resentful, frustrated, looking for an alternative, looking for a reason as to why they feel this anger, and one side doesn't actually respond to any of those frustrations, those economic anxieties. The Democrats, of course.
Candace Mercel hides her power level. Oh, okay. Yeah, she probably hides her power level a little bit, but not Nick Fuentes, right? Anyway, yeah.
And then the other
But even then, Candace Owens isn't exactly mainstream.
Side turns around and says, you're feeling all that anger and resentment, and that's good. It's because immigrants have taken your social safety nets. And then people lean on that. Now you have successfully created an environment where there is an immigrant question or a Jewish question or a Palestinian question.
Very popular,
now you're looking for a solution. But the problem never existed to begin with. It was not a real problem to begin with. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because a lot of people that look to these historic incidents, these historic events, mass cruelty, systematized death and destruction like the Holocaust, and think, oh, well, it's different now. It's not different. The methods are the same. The fake hysteria is the same. The dehumanization is exactly the same.
Coworkers that listen to her? My condolences, okay? I'm so sorry that's the case.
Cannot comprehend because you have been swept away with this propaganda. That's it. Ethan Klein and anyone else that has this kind of opinion is unironically in the same boat as the average baker in Nazi Germany that was like, I don't know what's going on in there. They put a lot of Jews in there. I don't know what's happening. It smells weird. There's ash everywhere.
A martini, shaken, not stirred.
$5. Have a good stream.
JD, thank you so much for the $5. I really do appreciate that. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Yes, guys, please support the stream. Thank you.
But I'm just going to keep baking. I don't really like what they're doing to the Jews, but I'm just, at the same time, I am really worried. I am really worried about what the Jews could potentially do to me if they were to live side by side with me. Contrapoints during the Holocaust. Yes, it's a genocide, but sharing photos of dead bodies only leads to the left to bloodthirsty anti-German rage. The left made Nazis their boogeyman when the majority of Germans are Nazis. Do you want a total collapse of German society? Yeah. And the answer is this. The answer is simple to like people that say, oh, you want to annihilate Israel. It's like, no, dude, Israel is annihilating itself because of their desperation to annihilate Palestinian existence. I always go back to the 2017-2018 Supreme Court protest that Israeli society broadly engaged in. A lot of liberal Zionists were like, how did we get here? How did this country become so right-wing? I don't understand. We're the most moral nation. We're the gay Mecca in the Middle East. Like, what the even though Lebanon is right there. It's because the entire society is designed around exterminating Palestinians. And of course, if you don't address that inherent contradiction, then eventually
they literally have a government that barely works.
More and more right-wing figures are going to seize control over the state. And it's going to come for you as well. It's going to come for you because you're gay. It's going to come for you because you're doing something that these vicious, rabid, ultra-right politicians, Jewish Nazis.
I love it when he says, sorry, cat-based. I love it when he says vicious and he just shows like Jewish people on screen. Oh my god, thank you, Hassan.
Don't want you to do. That's why these polls are also crazy that like people avoid responding to. New poll, Hebrew University shows roughly 82% of Jewish Israelis agree with the genocidal idea that there is no innocence in Gaza. Yes, the primary contradiction of settlement will result in worsening violence. It's a death cult. Exactly. Fascism, and I know Natalie knows this personally, fascism is a suicidal ideology, because it requires the consistent extermination of an outgroup at the behest of an increasingly shrinking in-group. So we're watching.
I need to put an FPS cap for Path of Exile 2. I think that's probably why. I do want to play the game. I want to play the game. Low FPS with high GPU uses specific. Check for bottlenecks, update drivers, optimize settings.
Historic events that Nazi Germany went through play itself out in a much shorter time span, in real time, in broad daylight, and yet people still are confused by it. It's crazy. And yeah, you got like, you know, liberals trying to intellectualize these statements. Like you don't want to close your eyes for a brief moment and try to like
isn't Israel growing though? So how's it shrinking? Shh, Bernie math.
Center Palestinians in this conversation. Close your eyes for a brief moment and imagine what it would be like to be in the shoes of an orphaned child that has nothing, that has been left with nothing because of this brutal, oppressive apartheid state that sees this child and his family as parasites, that is doing everything in its power to exterminate them, slowly but surely torture them. And then you take up.
Yeah, I'm sure ContraPoints thinks of children as like literal Satan spawn of the devil. Okay, I'm sure ContraPoints is actively. This is a video about ContraPoints. Okay. It's literally a video about ContraPoints' incredibly milquetoast statement, okay? Hassan is saying this in a video about ContraPoints' milquetoast statement. He is saying, you think of children as parasites, these Jewish Nazis, these savages. What? Like,
arms to defend your family, what remains of your people. You are not.
I like to think that Hassan's editors have an entire like folder and file full of like these videos, of these kinds of videos where he's like, okay, we need to pull this up of like this children of little Timmy crying, okay? Little Timmy crying and sobbing, squatting in front of a, you know, whatever the fuck, all right? We need to make sure, okay? We need to make sure. And they have like gigabytes and terabytes of like children suffering, okay?
Conditioned into seeing the humanity of Palestinians, the humanity of Muslims, the humanity of Arabs, because God forbid you recognize them as human beings with their own dreams, okay? God forbid you recognize them as human beings who, of course, are going to be pushed into a corner only for so long until they try to fight their way out of it. You can't see that. That's why so much of this conversation goes back to the basics, recognizing Palestinians as human beings and not just faceless bystanders and victims on the side. Hamas is not an alien force. The Palestinian resistance is not an alien outsider force that
you know what I think? I think that ContraPoints should make a video bashing Hassan, actually. Why not? I mean, at this point, like they are going all out. You're not going hard enough against them. Fuck these people, dude. These people are sucky.
You know, unilaterally decides to do certain things and you know, put the lives of Palestinians at risk by angering the great state of Israel. Like, that's a ridiculous assessment to make. They are the orphaned soldiers of Palestine. They are the people whose parents have been slaughtered. They're not outsiders. They're Palestinians. And there might be disagreements on the methods that they utilize. Of course there are. But nobody deserves genocide. Israelis don't deserve genocide. They are the ones doing a genocide. That is how unjustifiable genocide is. That even a genocide in retaliation to genocide is still unconscionable, is still unjust. But the idea that this is like supposed to be purity testing is idiotic. That's why I always say, look, you can have disagreements with me on this stuff. But when you become opposition, when you become a hurdle that I have to clear to get my message across, then you're no longer with it. That's why I always talk about Bernie Sanders, who I have disagreements with on this issue, on the issue of Israel. And yet I don't make this a larger problem because he does not. Bernie Sanders could spend every waking moment. He's the most popular.
Okay, I think it's no longer lagging, right? The game is no longer lagging. where we're no longer, like, the video is no longer lagging, hopefully.
Jewish elected in the country for the past multiple decades. He could be spending every waking moment talking about how scared he is for his future
Okay, never mind. It still is.
generations, for his grandchildren who are also Jewish. How scared he is about the rising tide of anti-Semitism and how it's sweeping away political discourse, and how people who are pro-Palestine are actually cynically saying they're pro-Palestine and they just want the annihilation of the Israeli state. He doesn't do that. He doesn't do that at all. The reason why he doesn't do that is because I think he understands that there is validity to the claims being made by those who are more radical than he is. He does not shy away from endorsing people.
I know, it's okay. We can still hear the audio. That's what really matters, right, guys? Right, guys? Right?
Who have a different position on this, a more radical position than he does on this. Did none of you listen to the rest of my comment or literally say other genocide being larger doesn't make this one less urgent? It makes it more urgent because we don't want this to get as large as others have been? Yes, but also we have a direct involvement. Like, there is no other country that we have such a direct involvement with. People talk about Sudan. I've talked about Sudan as well. The Rapid Support Forces are backed by the UAE. Who gives them the weapons and money and training and logistics?
I have heard Bernie talk about like this stuff. I think he's correct, right? Like, he's fine on this stuff.
The RSF is doing ethnic cleansing in Sudan. It's the UAE. Who gives the UAE backing? We do. But that is one step removed. It is an indirect way of contributing to this ethnic cleansing campaign. Israel is direct. Israel is basically, or the genocide in Yemen. Saudi and the UAE, of course, again, where are proxies there? They were the reasons. They were the responsible parties. Okay, they took an ongoing civil war and
Dude, just a reminder that, again, you have to think about the context of everything, right? Like, when Bernie doesn't give any statement that is reminiscent of like what Hassan says, he doesn't deny any of the rapes or anything like that, I'm sure. Just keep in mind that there are people around him urging him to deny the rapes, probably. There are people around him urging him to be as extreme as possible, but he still pushes back, meaning that, yeah, he does care about his own principles, right?